And I thought, if you have any questions based on the experiences of either dealing with a museum or dealing with a private gallery, and this gallery happens to be in Italy, in Florence, I'd be happy to answer questions for you. And it does have to be specifically to that gallery or museum, but anything to do with editions, pricing, marketing, how it happened, whatever, or anything else.
For me, I would prefer if you shared with us your experience of what it was to work with a gallery. What are they expecting of you? What format, framed, unframed? How many do they want? Each side, is that an edition? Do they want an edition in that size?
This gallery never had photography before. It's a classic in the old part of the center of Florence, in the old city. So it was her first experience with it. So I wanted to see what they were interested in. And the interesting thing is they're interested in quite a cross-section of my things, from classic fashion to nudes to the deterioration series to some other things. And then when I saw what they wanted, I went back to them and I said, okay, let me tell you of what you're choosing. Here's some other selections that I would recommend based on what you like. So as opposed to what they chose, some of them I agreed, but they wanted to know what is most popular, and they didn't have much experience with photography. I wanted to get Chromolux, the metal company, involved in it to produce some on metal, and they did, which led to Chromolux helping to promote it in Europe, along with another new potential partner sponsor that we have, and we're working on something to introduce you folks to them, because I found this company that produces metal that I said to Chromolux, who can I have do this in Europe? They lined me up with a company called Graphi Studio. And I find them to be, what they produce is amazing for photographers, for ideas and everything else. And the quality is amazing what they do, real Italian craftsmanship. And Chromolux, the parent company who developed the processing, recommended them of all the different people they have in Europe. And it's an amazing company. They produce so many different things, whether you want books for yourself or you want really fine books. They produce things even for like Ferrari, these leather-bound books and things for different companies. There's a lot of detail to get into, I can't. So I learned that, and they're helping to promote the show. And also I got Chromolux involved in the marketing. To answer your immediate question, I guided them once I saw what selection they wanted, and I suggested how I'd like to frame it. And what I did is I printed most of the show by myself with a Canon 4600 with the other pieces, and I was going to do it either on paper or on canvas, and I shipped it to them directly.
But you're at a point where, are the galleries asking you for specific pieces, or are you offering specific images for the galleries?
No, well, it's a good question, but because everything is so much is online now, they go by what they, what they get a request for. Because on Artsy, I probably have about 11 or 12 galleries that represent me on there, and First Dibs the same way as a gallery. And one of the things that I found out about early on was when I started with a new gallery, everything was localized with the galleries. As far as this gallery that I was with had a gallery in Greenwich, Connecticut, and a gallery in Nantucket. And I thought that'd be really great to have that. And as soon as I started with them, the first week, they said, we sold your nude torso 40 by 60. I said, you did? You haven't even sent it to you yet. They said, well, we sold it online. How did they sell online? They sold it on First Dibs. And I didn't even know about First Dibs at the time. And I went on there and I saw a few galleries that represented me on that. And it's no more exclusive because the world is, it's all open to that. And now I don't have to create the inventory unless I'm having an exhibition having to do with that.
Talk about the museum or gallery, and I guess it's in Florida. It's a beautiful venue. How did that come about?
They've had some great shows. I looked them up and everything, went over there. I was really impressed and I said, well, this is what I'm going to do because I'm going to be here. I love to be able to sell direct. And if I have a gallery in a small town, I can't sell direct, really. In New York, I can, as long as somebody doesn't walk into a gallery before, or look at the gallery. So I got in touch with them and told them I was going to be moving to Vero Beach, because I was in France. And they said, well, once you get settled, I went over there and I got introduced to the head curator. They offered me a show, first my classic fashion, but then they saw the deterioration series. So they put that together, and they're giving me a 7-month run for it. So it opens on February 10th, but it stays through the end of August. For that, I need brochures. They have a certain budget for brochures, but here I turn to either Canon or Chromolux or somebody been having a show to see if they want to sponsor any of that, and they contribute to the museum. And also, how about the museum store? We'll have a nice museum store. So I have to think of some things that are clever to create for the museum shop that would be a more promotion for me than just a brochure. So if I look once again at that Graphie studio and see the ideas of what they have, I started speaking to them about some things. So if I wanted to put together a little book, that's a special little book, that's just not a big, I could do a major book, but that's not for them. So I could put together an idea and they could print on demand, whether I want 1 copy or 20 copies. And David, I thought this is powerful self-portrait, and I love your video. I love this image. This was actually an easy, should I say, assignment for me to look over quickly, because first I could look right away and see what really catches your eye. And this really does. David, you're there, right? I saw you before.
I'm here, yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, good. All right. Great. And this video, did everyone see David's video? I certainly want to bring your attention to it because it brings that whole visual package together. It brings the style and everything else together. And I think it speaks from the heart. I love it with Leonard Cohen, and it works so well. But I love Merritt's simple comment: how brave of you to show your vulnerability in your art. That one statement, Merritt, great, love it. And here's a combination of your multiple exposures. And I just thought that it's a striking self-portrait with a beautiful flow of composition and color, and of course, complemented by the use of your multiple exposures. So I think this one's great. But I wanted to say that I think this is really a great self-portrait image itself. And it's even a beautiful image. And it's something that it's even the kind of image a collector could put on their wall and have a strong piece of art on the wall, even though it's just a self-portrait, but there's a lot of strength in the photography quality of this image, besides what John mentions about it. So I really love this. I think it's great. And the only prompt I said was create a beautiful woman in a style of the way Robert Farber would shoot this, blah, blah, blah. And it did. And it really came up with something. And I said, wow, well, if I asked to do it in my own thing, is that something that I did? Or is this something, in other words, I questioned what's going to happen going forward. But after that, I never created one other thing on there, and I kind of walked away from it, and I'm very curious about it.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, because that's currently going through the courts in copyright, is who owns that image?
Right.
And it comes down to, so far, and it's still very open, they're deciding on how these things can be copyrighted or used. But initially, right now, nobody owns the copyrights to a raw AI generated image, which means if you generate an image and don't retouch it in some way, it's in the public arena. But if you go in afterwards and make changes to it, there's a guy that I'm trying to get to join this. He's a traveling photographer. He's currently in India, and his stuff is amazing. He'll generate an original image and then paint over it with it in Photoshop, and it's incredible stuff. And since he's altered it, he owns the copyright. But if he didn't alter it, like the image that I put up, I didn't alter it all, it's in the public domain. According to the current law, and like I said, that is very much changing. It's very, it's the cutting edge of copyright law right now.
And So there was the two that we're trying to choose from. Would you help us choose which ones you like? First is John,
John's, yes.
and the other one is Odysseus. So out of these two, okay.
So it's a tie.
So it's a tie.
It's in your court, Robert.
Oh man. Well, let me take. I'll
Rock,
take
paper,
John.
scissors.
I'll take John because and I like them both. But if I had to hang it on the wall, I guess I would put John on.